because only we knew the real truth. The truth about who we had become. Her eyes widened in all the right moments, her voice cracked exactly where it needed to. She carried every borrowed tragedy like it belonged to her. We never thought of ourselves as criminals. Not once. Criminals take from people who have nothing left. We took from the ones who could afford to feel generous. The ones who would never spare a second glance at us otherwise. The ones who only opened their hearts when the narrative made them feel warm and charitable. We were not thieves. We were realists. Realists surviving in a world that had long stopped caring whether people like us ate, slept, or vanished quietly between the cracks. She grew, and with her, her mastery grew too. Once, she repeated my words like lines in a script. Now she rewrote them, twisted them, added details I never would have imagined. She sensed people better than I ever could, where they were fragile, where they were proud, where the wound was deepest. The world would never understand that. The world never understands those who speak the language of survival. We lived in the soft territory between guilt and generosity, the gray zone where conscience becomes currency. And when her eyes, once wide and young, began to glint with a coldness I recognized all too well, I understood, she had learned everything she needed. Too well. Some nights, she didn't even ask what story to use. She built her own truths. And sometimes, I wondered if she enjoyed it a little too much. Her voice softened when she described sorrow. Hardened when she spoke of injustice. Became fragile when someone needed to feel like a hero. I watched her and saw what she was becoming. Not a student. Not a child. No, an architect. A hunter. A narrator of tragedies that were never ours, but that we borrowed like second-hand clothes and wore until people's pity turned into money. One night, long after midnight, she said, "You do know people want lies more than they want truth, right?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I taught her how to bend reality long before she learned how to write her name without trembling. Not because I wanted to ruin her, no. But because even then I understood, people aren't hungry for truth. They're hungry for a story that lets them feel noble while handing over a few bills they never planned to keep anyway. At the beginning, we didn't fabricate anything. We simply stated life exactly as it was. A man with a mangled arm trying to raise a child alone, drowning in debt, work, and the indifference of everyone around him. It was unvarnished honesty. Too honest, maybe. But the world doesn't like truth in its raw form. It wants it trimmed, seasoned, softened, repackaged into something emotionally digestible. And that was when we noticed something important. People latched onto different parts of our story. One pitted the missing limb. Another pitted the child. A third pitted themselves through us, as if seeing our life reflected their own worst fears back at them. So our single story fractured, splintered into little pieces, sharp and shining, each of them true but none of them complete. And we learned to pick up those shards and arrange them depending on who stood in front of us. I crafted those shards with precision. Each variation had the same skeleton, but different muscle. A different emphasis, a different twist of tone, a different pressure point. And she delivered them with a kind of flawless innocence that even I sometimes believed.